Okay, morning. My name's Rob Harrison from Glued Clear and Honest Marketing, and this morning I'm interviewing Brett Marshall.
Hi, I'm Brett from BM Business Mentoring.
Brett, nice to meet you.
Morning, Rob. How are you?
I'm all right, thanks. So today we're talking about your new business, your new venture.
Yeah.
Exciting stuff. So I think we had a chat beforehand, which has given me some questions. The first was, you say you're a business mentor. We're used to hearing about business coaches. What's the difference?
Well, in my mind, having been a business coach, business coaching was more to one extreme about teaching business owners, teaching the principles of how to run a successful business, and a lot of work talking to clients and understanding and getting them to look at options and make choices. Business mentoring, to my mind, still does all that, but is more a direct approach. So it's more about using my business experience with certain situations to just also offer straightforward advice and be more to the point.
So you talked about experience. What experience have you got that you're able to bring to business mentoring?
Well, I have a long career. I'm heading towards retirement in some respects. So now I think I've reached a stage where I've worked for large multinational corporate businesses, and then I've worked for smaller businesses, which I probably enjoyed more because you feel like you're actually running a business. And as I've moved up into sort of director roles as well, I've just got a depth and breadth of business experience. I ran my own business, consultancy business for 7 years, and then I actually moved in and became a business coach. So I have the experience myself, but I also have the structure that I learned on how to help other business owners and directors from having been a coach. And that's what I'm now looking to do with business mentoring.
So yeah, one thing I was going to comment on, and this is the marketing mindset here, but Brett Marshall, business mentor, BM. There's another BM in your business, isn't there? In your business initiative, which is business metrics.
Yes. I wondered where you were going with that then. Yeah, absolutely. Because in terms of the fundamentals of business, all businesses are different. But the actual fundamentals of running a business are ultimately the same. And I believe are based on 5 or 6, what I'm calling business metrics. And before we get into those, the point I want to make is that if you focus on those and you actually measure them, and you build them and grow them, you don't actually need to grow them a lot to make a significant difference in delivering a far bigger, better business.
And taking a step back from those metrics that you're going to tell us about in a minute, there are 3 that are commonly used but not that useful. Can you talk to us about those?
Yeah, so the obvious ones, which I hope most business directors or business owners will know, are fundamentally, how many customers have we got? How much money are we taking? What's our revenue? What's our turnover? And then fundamentally, how much profit are we making? But if you think about it, the number of customers you've got, your revenue and your profit are actually the outcomes of your business activities, what I'm calling the business metrics. Okay.
So, Brett, you've spoken about these wider metrics, customer, turnover and profit. I know that you drill down into these to get some real quantifiable measures that we as businesses should follow to get good outcomes for our business in terms of margin, profit, turnover. The first of those, you sort of focus in on customers, and I think there's 2 measures there you look at.
Yeah, so first of all, how do I grow my customer base, the number of customers I've got. So number one is in the business metrics is generating leads. To my mind, a lead is someone who actively engages with you as a business. They may come in and literally buy something, or they may actually contact you because they've got questions, inquiries they want to make. And it is, how do you maximize those? Ultimately that's your marketing. This is where you guys at Glued can help, because it's like, what are all the marketing tools I can use? Website, social media, email campaigns, advertising, whatever it might be, to increase the number of leads, to increase the number of inquiries. Then the metric number 2, of course, is, but then I need to convert those inquiries into an actual sale. So now we are talking about sales. Now, sales can be a bit of a dirty word, and in my experience, a lot of business owners actually shy away from sales. They lack confidence in sales. I mean, if I said to you, describe a salesperson, typical salesperson, what would you say?
Yes, it's somebody who's a bit untrustworthy, slick suit, bit too smooth.
Yeah, we've all had those bad sales experiences, haven't we, with the pushy salesperson. The trick here, I always advise, is to take away the word sales and replace it with help. So think about, how can I help this potential customer or these customers rather than have the pressure of, I've got to sell, I've got to convert them. And that starts with the conversation. It starts with understanding what they need. People want to buy from you because they have a specific need or want, or they have a problem that they need a solution to. And hopefully with your range of products or services, you can help them. But you need to understand what it is that they're looking for first, and that's just by having a conversation, asking lots of questions, and from that you will improve your conversion rate.
So Brett, we've looked at the customer measures. You've talked about generating leads and converting to sales. So let's move on to the next area you highlighted, which is turnover.
Yeah. So we've talked about how you improve your customer numbers. So hopefully you're getting more and more customers. It's then, how do I maximize my revenue, my turnover, as you've just said. And the next 2 metrics, so metric number 3 is, how do I get people to increase their average spend with me? How do I get them to spend more money with me? And I always use McDonald's as an example here. So if you think about going to a McDonald's and you want to buy a burger, well, for years McDonald's have always said, would you like fries with that? Now you go in and there's a big fancy board and you select your meal, but it's all questions about, do you want to make it a meal? Do you want to go medium? Do you want to go large? So they're what we call upselling. So I would say to any business, think about your opportunities to upsell to your customers, and what might be your equivalent of, would you like fries with that?
Yeah.
Also Amazon, if you buy anything on Amazon, you might buy a particular item, but then at the bottom of the page it will say, people also bought this.
Yes.
So think about how you can bundle items together, you can generally upsell. Then business metric number 4 is, how do I get them to come and buy from me more often? How do I increase, do they buy from me once a week, once a month, once a year? How do I get them to come and buy from me more? Well, that's about, I think, ultimately your customer service. So first of all, is it a good experience when people buy from you? You want to make sure that's the case, because if it's not, they won't come back. No. So first of all, give yourself the best chance of them coming back by offering great customer service. Then on top of that, probably your marketing kicks in again by, what are the offers or promotions? What is it you can do with your business that encourages people to keep coming back and buying more from you? So we're growing our customer numbers, and we've now got, if you focus on the business metrics of, how do I get my customers to spend more? How do I get them to come back and buy from me more often? You're really driving your revenue.
Brett, quite detailed now. We've got increased sales leads, increased conversion rate, increased average sale, increased frequency of sale. What else can a business do?
Well, this is all great stuff, and again, just to make the point, it's really important that you log all these things. How do you know how well you're doing if you're not measuring them? So the final part, though, is we're all here to make a profit. So the fifth metric that I want to talk about is your percentage margin. Now, in these difficult times where costs have been increasing and we've gone through periods of high inflation, it's really hard to maintain your percentage margins. One of the key questions I ask my clients quite a lot is, when was the last time you had a price increase? And you'd be amazed how many people turn around and say, well, yeah, we had a price increase maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Now, if you think about it, if you're not increasing your prices in line with your costs are always increasing, then by definition, your percentage margin is being eroded. So it's important that you think about, how can I improve my margin? When was the last time I had a price increase? If I'm selling different products or services, some of them are probably more profitable than others. So how can I focus more on those, on the higher profitability than the lower profitability? How can I manage my costs? A big challenge for any business. But if you look at all these things in the mix and can manage to maintain or increase your percentage margin, you'll be growing your profits. And to go back to all the 5 metrics we've discussed, you only need to move them a bit. If you can increase all the 5 metrics just by 10%, the mathematics of that means you'll actually increase your profits by 63%. However, that's all well and good, but if you're not tracking your metric number 6, which is your cash flow, you could still go out of business. And I've seen businesses go bust because they're not good business. You know, it's not that they're not good businesses and they're profitable, but they just run out of cash. And the biggest things I see with business owners is they've overpaid themselves. They've got too much stock, and one of the biggest ones, the good old tax bill. They've not made provision, they get a big tax bill and it wipes them out because HMRC say, we want our money. So the final point is, track your cash flow. I'd say use a spreadsheet, map out the next quarter of the year, put all your costs in, treat it like your family bank account. You know what all your business costs are going to be, fortunately or unfortunately, on a weekly basis. So just map them all out going forward. And then also map the revenue that you're going to actually achieve and be paid. And from that you will get a very good picture, a very clear picture, and be able to track your finances. So as I say, all the business metrics, if you focus on those and track them, you will improve your business. But the final point is, but don't lose sight of cash flow.
And we've benefited from that lesson, Brett. Thank you very much.
Yes, you did.
Learning truly about cash flow, even after 15 years of trading, and you taught us a lesson on that. So thank you.
You're very welcome.
So Brett, we've talked about the subject of business mentoring, your use of business metrics. Brett Marshall, BM again. One area that interests us as a marketing business is what we call valuable difference, or some people call USP. And one of the ways we get to that is by understanding the real reasons why people have chosen to do what they're doing. So do you mind if I ask you, why are you interested in business mentoring?
I ultimately just want to help people. It sounds a bit cheesy, but as I get towards the end of my career, as I've explained, I've had many roles at senior levels in corporate large global businesses through to small family businesses, and I've had my own business, so I also know what it's like to run your own business. I'm at a stage now where, having been a business coach, that was because I like teaching, I like helping, I just want to, give back in the cheesiest possible way.
Brett, you mentioned talking about your career history, that you became a business coach, now obviously turning that into your own brand of that, business mentoring. But what encouraged you out of sort of the coalface of business into business coaching?
I think it's something that's always interested me, and through my career, at times I've actually been in training roles, and I've just enjoyed training. Ultimately, having been a business coach, you get a lot of satisfaction from helping business directors, business owners overcome particular challenges. I get a lot of satisfaction from that, so that's ultimately what I want to be able to achieve and help people.
Brett, you've asked us this question, or rather we've debated it in the past, which is, what feeling do you want to leave your customers with?
What feeling? I want to leave them with a feeling that in working with me, they've enjoyed the experience. They've ultimately got a lot that they can take away from that and then implement in their business. But the bottom line for me and my clients are that I add to their success, or between us, it is a collaboration that ultimately they're achieving their goals, and they feel happier in their business, they feel more comfortable in their business. To run a business, as you guys know, it can be quite challenging, can be quite hard, stressful and lonely at times. So I ultimately want to help people remove all those negatives. Doesn't mean to say business is easy, but if you feel you're in a good place with your business, you've got confidence and you know where you're going with your business, then if I can help people achieve that, then I think I've done my job.
And if I might add, from I think David's my perspective, there are three Fs that we would describe your USP as, which is firm, fair, friendly.
Okay, I'll take that. Thank you very much.
So Brett, you talked about, you've got this experience of working in corporates, which obviously, we've run a small business for 20 odd years, and even before that we both worked in my business partner and I worked in small businesses. So corporate life's very different. In your corporate life, were there any circumstances where you were either able to actually apply coaching and mentoring, or where perhaps you were the circumstances prevented you from applying it, but you might have wanted to?
I think if I look back, and particularly working for those large global corporate businesses, the real positive about them is, I've worked for some major household name brands, so you've got some fantastic brands you're working with, and you've just got armies of people, big departments. But what I learned from that is sometimes that in itself can get in the way. Businesses lose their flexibility, and there have been times, what I like to pride myself on in terms of anywhere I've worked is that I like to think I've contributed towards improving it in some way or another. And working with customers, I worked a lot of my career in the food and drink industry, and dealing with all the major supermarkets, and they can be really tough negotiators. They can be very dictatorial, but I learnt all about building relationships, and ultimately if they know, like and trust you, in no matter what size business you're working for, representing, if they feel that you're supporting them as a customer and you understand them, that's one of the biggest learnings in from my sales background, is it doesn't matter who it is, ultimately it's the mutual respect, and it's passing that on to other people, particularly around sales, and looking for continual improvement, I guess is my background, and I think I've achieved that in a lot of the places I've worked. And then that naturally has led me on to business coaching and now business mentoring, where I just want to pass on that experience, because what a lot of people don't have as I get older is just that level of experience, and just that practical experience of having been in that situation, having had to deal with that issue or problem, and It might not have gone well at the time, but you learn from that.
Yes.
So ultimately, it's being able to, when I've done training roles in the past, and you're teaching people processes or theory, I just at the time felt, wouldn't it be great if I could just take a lump of experience and pass it on to you, which of course you can't. But that's what I want to try and achieve with business mentoring.
That's a really good visual representation of gripping your heart and saying, take a bit of that experience and give it to you. It's very, very powerful. Thank you, Brett.
Okay, thank you.